For sure, and one thing is you need to be able to take a few days. Even if it's just 3 days, I will try and make sure that I schedule 3 days here or 3 days there, maybe a weekend where I do no work. I'll put my email responder to, sorry, Brock is on a staycation, and make sure that I have time. Because I have taken on a lot up to this point in my life, and there is a tendency to burn out, and then if you're not proactive, then you're off for like a week where you're just totally unproductive. So I agree, that's a very good point, and I'll make sure to budget a few days here and a few days there to retain my sanity.
And so how many classes are you taking in the fall?
I'm planning on 3 right now. But I'll need to evaluate. My BAS commitment will always be first. So after fully evaluating that, then I'll be able to choose how many I take, and also the level of effort required for each course, because it varies, as you probably know.
Come back to you.
Just a follow-up. Would you be willing to sign a contract to state that you're going to take only this amount of classes and only one extracurricular activity on top of that? So would you be willing to sign a contract and not go above and beyond because it seems like you like to take a lot on?
Absolutely, and I think that's a good idea. What I was thinking of doing is hire someone to follow me around, and if any opportunities come up, just slap me real hard and stop me from being an idiot. Because I do have a tendency, I love being able to make an impact, being involved in things, so I think that actually is a great idea. If you draft me up one, and you can get enforcement mechanisms, I'll gladly sign it. Or that. That's fine too.
Excellent. You can do that on the board if you get on it. The board will try to.
Yes, the board will have a much more active and role this year, and it will be structured much better.
Javita, you're next.
So this kind of, the same question applies to your execs as well. So how do you plan on motivating your execs, and what kind of leader will you be to them?
Well, leadership, I hate being asked, what type of leader are you? Because in my mind, the best leaders are situational. Not everyone can be led or encouraged at a certain time. You know, even though I will be the person on the top of the hierarchy, there is a team. And I need to be a good teammate and have my other teammates, every student council member in BAS to put in commitment. I think if you can keep people excited about things, celebrate your accomplishments, and communicate what didn't work and how to improve it in the future. But to me, I think if we're making great progress, doing great things, every year you want BAS to move forward. If we keep on doing that, to me, that's very exciting. As you may guess, I am an extremely passionate person, and I think that can sometimes rub off on people, which is nothing but a good thing in my opinion.
Johnny, you're next.
I have a question regarding your platform. I was reading that online, and something that you mentioned was that you hope to create BAS as an organization that's so sustainable that we can take on hosting and bidding nationwide conferences and competitions. Could you just run me through how exactly you hope to do that?
Sure. The first way we do that is through better recruitment and retention to improve different systems we have. So it starts right off the bat. First years is a clean slate every year. Starts with having a great FROSH and BMP program in place. Then if people see the great work that we're doing and that we add a lot of value and that being a BAS Student Council member carries some weight to different sponsors and other people, people will want to be involved. I see the executive positions next year being some of the most sought after positions in SFU. So first is recruitment retention. Another thing, there's very weak policies currently, or at least they're not nearly strong enough. I would use a much stronger board and have things in place so that there's every year you know, okay, you're signing up for this is the requirements of this position, etc. So if you get those in place, And if you get things that are more sustainable in nature, a lot of the things that we've done have brought up because it's like, oh, we need to do this event. If we focus on what's actually core that we can bring that no one else can bring, and we focus on these main areas, then I think it's a lot more sustainable. Obviously, all student organizations are slightly cyclical, but I think that BAS can cut down on that tremendously. And even if there is an off year, if policies and the board's in place, the next year will not be starting off from ground zero.
Okay, back to my question. How exactly do you intend to have a talent pool of recruiting and retraining and training
Yeah.
like-minded students that are high achievers and wish for the very best for our society? Do you think that's going to be ready for within 1 year's time to really take on something at the scale of something that's national?
Yeah, the thing I love about this year's BAS Executive Council is they may have not walked into a great situation, but they're doing everything in their power to make sure that things are started off on the right foot this year by improving training and things like that, having a longer layover period. So I think that this is critical. So us starting off on the right spot, having competent people in place and making sure they take ownership so that the BAS execs can spend more time on the high-level decisions, what things that we can move into or should really end, because clubs can do it easily and it doesn't add that much value as a student society. So if we do that, then everything will have a clear policy. You know, maybe there will be too much policy and too much documentation at the end of this year, but I would definitely have too much rather than later and have it cut after a stronger culture has been put in place.
Okay, going back to my question again, you seem to be a person who illustrates your track record, which is pretty impressive. You have now a talent pool and you have this train and whatnot. But what exactly, and this was in your platform as well, and it's a promise that you've made, and that is to ensure that there will be much more funding for BAS. For any bid that you would intend or hope to make, the number one differentiating factor that actually gives you the competitive advantage is how much funding you already have secured.
Yep, for sure.
How are you going to do that?
So the first thing we try is to get long-term sponsors that are more into BAS. So often, right now, sponsors will sponsor certain events or programs, and they'll do that more or less consistently. But if we can get the big ones to go a much larger sponsorship, another possibility is search for interested alumni that have large pockets to set up some sort of endowment fund. Another thing is SAO and SFSS. We are the largest student organization on campus in terms of budget, how many things we do, in the sense that we're completely student run. We should be getting much more funding. If none of those pan out, there will be a levy in place by the end of the year, ready to go for next year's council.
Could you expand on that? How exactly would you do that?
So first you would need to get a referendum question. Even if you charged $5 a business student per semester, if there's 3,000 business students for 3 semesters, all of a sudden you're looking at a considerable amount of money. Often we have just short of what we really need to do, so that financial concerns are such a topic of discussion. Even if you got an extra 30 grand through this, and that would take a lot of pressure off, and we had all our other type sources of funding and sponsorship the same, then this would make it much easier, and we can actively look to do things. With more funding, you can also make a slush fund, so that every year you build up, so that we say every 3 or 4 years, SFU holds a major national event of that sort. So that's something that could be looked into as well.